Well, back home, the major parties have found privacy, transparency and oversight concerns with new legislation designed to fight international cybercrime. The Cybercrime Amendment Bill would allow for the holding and handing over of telecommunications data relating to online crime. In a majority report, the Select Committee on Cyber Safety has endorsed the legislation but called for changes. It wants better clarification and tightening of the legislation, including better safeguards for dealing with countries which impose the death penalty. Karen Barlow reports.
From exploiting children to scamming billions of dollars over the internet, cybercrime is now well beyond nuisance computer hacks. Law enforcement and intelligence agencies want more power and better international cooperation.
Cybercrime is now more lucrative than the international drug trade.
The Cybercrime Amendment Bill would set Australia up to sign the only binding international treaty on cybercrime, the Council of Europe Convention on Cybercrime.
Essentially, it's the only game in town. It's really important that countries, as many countries as possible, sign up to it and implement laws.
The legislation will allow agencies such as ASIO and the AFP to order companies like internet service providers to preserve electronic evidence until a warrant is obtained.
The purpose of a preservation notice is to ensure that potential evidence is not destroyed.
Such evidence could then be shared with other countries.
But again, there is no access to this material without a warrant, and the AFP can only apply for the warrant once the Attorney-General has agreed to a formal request for mutual assistance from the foreign country.
After the bill was introduced 2 months ago, it was referred to the Cyber Safety Committee. Today it endorsed the bill but recommended 13 changes and clarifications.
We were very pleased that the report, which all parties signed off on this morning, says that the government's got to have a rethink. They can't just introduce this bill on Monday and expect a smooth debate.
The Cyber Safety Committee says neither the convention nor the bill seeks to implement a general data retention scheme. It also says it doesn't open the door to mass surveillance of internet usage. However, there are 13 recommendations addressing privacy, transparency and oversight concerns. The majority report requests the legislation be clearer on the conditions for passing on telecommunications data to other countries. It also wants to forbid countries from using the data for a secondary purpose.
In terms of some tightening in respect to oversight, clarifying the balance between privacy and utility of the material for law enforcement purposes, these things have been suggested by sensible people, and the government will clearly have a look at those.
The Greens had additional concerns about cooperation with countries which impose the death penalty. They say the bill could allow Australian agencies to support an overseas prosecution, which could then lead to an execution.
I think they're inadequate safeguards. This is one area where I think the committee's let us down.
But the Attorney-General says that's covered by tighter federal police procedures and other legislation.
That regime is already in place. The Labor government tightened that.
The Attorney-General says he'll make a decision on possible amendments to the Cybercrime Amendment legislation soon. Karen Barlow, Late Line.